I am 34 years old, married to a 32-year-old woman, and we have been together for 4 years. I have a good, stable salary, and my wife is currently not working. When we got married, she was working, but she quit less than a year later. At the time, she told me that she wanted to start her own online business and that she had never liked traditional 9-to-5 jobs. I supported her decision, trust her, and want us to be equals. I believed that if the roles were reversed and I was in her place, she would also be passionate about it. We decided that I would earn the money and she would pursue her business ideas. 3 years later, the business never took off. She tried several hobbies but didn't stick with any of them. I didn't pressure her to go back to work because, to be honest, my salary was enough to cover the mortgage, cell phones, groceries, and I was able to save money. I was happy to be the breadwinner. What I didn't expect was how much I now had to spend. My wife had always loved shopping, but once she stopped working, she went crazy. She started spending thousands of dollars a month on luxury items. Designer handbags, jewelry, new gadgets, spa treatments, you know what I mean. These weren't expensive things or necessities. She bought whatever caught her eye. At first, I was patient, believing that maybe she just couldn't find something to do. I even bought her expensive gifts for birthdays and holidays. But her spending started to exceed my means. I started receiving huge credit card bills. In less than a month, she spent over $5,000 on luxury purchases and high-end salon services. In 1 month, she spent nearly $3,000 on clothes, shoes, and home decor. And that was on top of our regular living expenses. Our savings began to melt away. I had a serious talk with her about our budget and the need to tighten our belts a little. She said she would try to be less wasteful, but I could hear the smirk in her voice that said she didn't agree. Over the next few months, nothing changed. She agreed to the budget but continued to spend more than she should have. I found secret shopping bags in the closet and mysterious charges on our credit card statements. When I confronted her, it inevitably led to arguments. She also said that I treated her like a child and that I wouldn't do that if she were a man. She also called me a moral sexist because a good husband would never control how his wife spends her money. That statement bothered me. My problem wasn't with sex, it was with financial prudence. I finally caught her when I discovered that she had secretly opened a store credit card and spent $1,200 in a week. That was the last straw. Talking didn't help. So I had to take action. I canceled our joint credit card and paid off the balance from my own account, spending all my savings. I told her that she would now receive $200 a week for personal expenses, enough for parties with friends or cosmetics, but not for designer clothes or handbags. I told her that this was a temporary measure until she found a job or we got back on our feet. I also paid all the utility bills. She was furious. She told me I had no right to make such a gesture as giving her pocket money, that it was childish behavior, and that I was financially exploiting her. But all other methods simply did not work. Without this restructuring, I said coldly, we would drown in debt. She did not want to hear it and believed that I was depriving her of her independence and masculinity by trying to control her spending. In the end, she deposited $200 into the debit card, but with a very cold attitude. She would say sarcastic things like, well, I'll have to ask my supervisor, or start telling her friends that I wouldn't let her do anything. I told her she could get a job and earn her own money if she wanted to help develop a more reasonable spending plan, provided she could read it. She didn't even want to think about working, saying that I had agreed to take care of her and that I wasn't a man if I couldn't do that. Finally, at least for a while, things calmed down. Our finances seemed normal, and the unrestrained shopping stopped. I was hopeful and believed that one day she would understand why we needed to be more careful, but then it all came crashing down. A few weeks ago, I got a call from the fraud department of a credit card company asking if I had ordered a new card. I hadn't. In a panic, I froze my credit reports, assuming my personal information had been stolen. But then I discovered that the application had been filed in my name with my social security number and our home address, but with a different email address and phone number. It was my wife's email address. My heart sank. I rushed home and walked her home. At first, I hesitated, but I knew I had irrefutable proof. Both the email address and phone number on the application were hers. I even found the app on our computer. When I showed her the evidence, she no longer denied it, but began to make excuses. "I made you do this," she said, blaming me for putting her in a financial bind. "I need my own money," she said, "and I have nowhere else to go." I told her it was a scam, a huge betrayal. We had a loud argument. She called me a controlling misogynist. I lost my temper and accused her of hypocrisy, saying she wasn't a strong, independent woman, but a fraud. I told her it was financial abuse. Then she started begging, saying she had made a mistake and fallen into a trap. She lied and said it was for both of us. And at that moment, something inside me broke. I said I needed space and moved in with my brother. I was afraid that if I stayed, the situation would only get worse. During those days, I also met with a divorce lawyer to understand what my options were. But friends and relatives I trusted told me that what she had done was unacceptable. I agreed. Her behavior was not only reckless, it was fraudulent. At one point, I went back home to talk. At first, she seemed genuinely remorseful and promised me she would make things right. But her tone changed when I told her I had spoken to a lawyer. She got angry and told me I was heartless and cruel for not giving her a chance. That was the last straw for me. I told her it was over and that I wanted a divorce. She lashed out at me again, saying I was making a mountain out of a molehill. I calmly replied that it wasn't a mistake. It was betrayal. Now I'm living with my brother and we live separately. Things got complicated. She told her friends her version of the story, in which I was portrayed as a despotic husband who left her for money. She conveniently forgot to mention the attempted identity theft. Her parents found out about everything. Her mother called to apologize for what she had done. Her father was furious, comparing it to pocket money, and didn't seem particularly concerned about the fraud. He told her to move back in with them and get her act together. I told everyone that there would be no divorce. Some readers advised me to see a psychologist, but I'm not interested in that at all. We don't have children. We've only been married for 4 years, so the legal side of things should be straightforward, but the emotional side is anything but. I officially filed for divorce. Shortly after, the lawyer drew up the papers to be served on my wife. I expected another dramatic scene, but not this reaction. When she was served, she cried and screamed, according to a mutual friend. To my surprise, she didn't call me to argue. She just sent a few text messages, still in shock and hurt, which were more surprised and hurt than angry. I think she realized I was serious. She quickly hired a divorce lawyer. Since then, we've mostly communicated through our lawyers. I officially moved out of the house and am living with my bisexual brother. I'm renting the house to him for a nominal fee, even though he didn't want to take it. Not talking to her is such a relief. No daily arguments, no panic when I check my phone. One day, she asked to meet. I refused at first, but then decided to meet her at a cafe during the day. She apologized again and asked if I would agree to counseling or a trial separation. Yes, I finally said no, and it was difficult. I told her that I no longer trusted her and that I thought divorce was the only way out. She cried and said, "So this is really the end? Are you just giving up on our marriage?" "You're the one who threw it all away when you chose lies and money over the truth," I replied. She cried, nodded, listened, and finally said, "I understand." It was a tearful moment, and I am very grateful that we both got through it. Our lawyers are finalizing the division of property. I will keep the house, which was purchased before the marriage but is still considered joint property. I can afford to maintain it on my own. It is the house I inherited as a child, and I bought out my siblings' shares, hence the mortgage. She had no emotional attachment to it. I would like to refinance the mortgage to remove her from the title and write her a small check to pay her share of the equity accumulated during our marriage. She could have asked for more, but she didn't, perhaps out of guilt, or perhaps because she knew she wouldn't win. We are dividing our joint savings, which are not that large due to her spending. I offered her about 30% and she agreed. She will keep the car, both are in my name, and I will simply transfer it to her. I will keep my car. She and her husband divided the household property without drama. She took the furniture from the guest room and he kept his things. We each kept a TV. As for debts, we agreed in writing that all debts in individual names would be paid off. All loans and her personal credit card are her responsibility. The fraudulent credit card application was discovered in time, so there is no actual debt. The last few weeks have been painful and surreal, but I'm starting to heal. I am still working full-time, but I had to take a couple of days off to recover mentally and gather my thoughts. My parents have been absolutely amazing. They cared for her like their own daughter, and now they're stunned by what she's done. My mom even recommended a therapist for me. I've been to a couple of sessions, and it's helped to have someone neutral listen to me and give me a chance to process some of this betrayal. Other mutual friends were shocked. From the outside, we were the perfect couple. Others asked if I would take her back. The answer is no, just no. Trust is the foundation of marriage, and hers was shattered. I can't go back to that, not for myself. I can't wait to live alone in my house again. I've only been back to pick up my things. When it's all over, which will probably be in a couple of months, I'll take a break. Maybe go on a solo trip to clear my head. That's how things stand. It's not a happy ending, but it's the right ending. We're polite to each other, but we keep our distance. I believe she's ashamed and doesn't want to see me. Fine, let it be. I'm moving on.